The stars shimmered faintly in the vast expanse of space, their light barely piercing the thick atmosphere of the alien planet Zorath. Lyra, a young alien girl with luminescent blue skin and hair that glowed like starlight, stood at the edge of a dense forest. Her heart raced as she clutched the small, pulsating crystal in her hand. It was the last piece of the celestial key, the only thing that could save her dying planet from the clutches of the ruthless warlord, Kral. Kral had invaded Zorath months ago, draining its resources and enslaving its people. Lyra, one of the few survivors of the resistance, had been tasked with finding the celestial key, an ancient artifact said to hold the power to restore Zorath's energy and repel Kral's forces. After weeks of perilous journeys across treacherous terrains, she had finally found it. But now, as she stood at the edge of the forest, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. The air was thick with tension, and the faint hum of machinery echoed in the distance. Lyra's sharp, almond-shaped eyes darted around, scanning the shadows. She knew Kral's drones were everywhere, hunting her. She had to get back to the resistance space before it was too late. Taking a deep breath, Lyra activated her cloaking device, her form shimmering as she became nearly invisible. She moved swiftly through the forest, her footsteps silent on the soft, mossy ground. The crystal in her hand pulsed with a warm, reassuring light, as if urging her to hurry. But as she approached the edge of the forest, a sudden, deafening roar shattered the silence. Lyra froze as a massive mechanical beast emerged from the shadows, its glowing red eyes locking onto her. It was one of Kral's war machines, a monstrous creation designed to hunt and destroy. Lyra's heart pounded as she deactivated her cloaking device, knowing it was useless against the machine's advanced sensors. She raised her hand, summoning a burst of energy from the crystal. The air around her crackled as a beam of light shot forth, striking the machine and causing it to stagger. But it wasn't enough to destroy it. The machine lunged at her, its metallic claws slashing through the air. Lyra dodged, her movements swift and agile, but she knew she couldn't keep this up forever. She needed a plan. As the machine charged again, Lyra spotted a narrow crevice in the rocks nearby. Without hesitation, she darted toward it, squeezing through just as the machine's claws scraped against the stone. She was safe for now. But as she caught her breath, a chilling voice echoed through the air. "Well, well, what do we have here?" Lyra's blood ran cold as she turned to see Kral himself standing at the entrance of the crevice, a sinister smile on his face. He was tall and imposing, his armor gleaming with the same dark energy that powered his machines. In his hand, he held a device that emitted a faint, ominous hum. "You've been quite the thorn in my side, little one," Kral said, his voice dripping with malice. "But your little game ends here." Lyra's mind raced. She couldn't let him take the crystal. She had to escape. But before she could react, Kral activated the device in his hand, and a wave of energy surged through the air, paralyzing her. She fell to her knees, the crystal slipping from her grasp. Kral stepped forward, picking up the crystal with a triumphant grin. "The celestial key," he said, his voice filled with awe. "With this, I will have unlimited power. And you, my dear, will be nothing more than a memory." Lyra's vision blurred as the energy from the device overwhelmed her. She felt herself slipping into unconsciousness, her last thought a desperate plea for help. When Lyra awoke, she found herself in a dimly lit cell, the walls cold and unyielding. Her head throbbed, and her body felt heavy, as if weighed down by chains. She tried to move, but her limbs refused to obey. The sound of footsteps echoed in the distance, growing louder as they approached. Lyra's heart sank as Kral appeared outside her cell, the celestial key glowing faintly in his hand. "You're awake," he said, his voice cold and mocking. "Good. I wanted you to see this." He held up the crystal, and Lyra's eyes widened as she saw the energy within it begin to swirl and churn. Kral was draining its power, using it to fuel his machines and strengthen his hold on Zorath. "No," Lyra whispered, her voice barely audible. "You can't." "Oh, but I can," Kral said, his grin widening. "And there's nothing you can do to stop me." Lyra's mind raced. She had to think of something, anything, to stop him. But she was trapped, powerless. Or so she thought. As Kral turned to leave, Lyra noticed something strange. The energy within the crystal was reacting to her presence, pulsing in time with her heartbeat. She realized then that the crystal wasn't just a source of power. It was alive, and it had chosen her. Summoning all her strength, Lyra focused on the crystal, reaching out with her mind. She felt a connection form, a bond that transcended the physical. The crystal responded, its energy surging through her, breaking the hold of Kral's device. Kral turned, his eyes widening in shock as Lyra rose to her feet, her body glowing with the crystal's light. What is this?" he demanded, his voice trembling. "You underestimated me," Lyra said, her voice steady and strong. "And now you'll pay the price." With a wave of her hand, Lyra unleashed the full power of the crystal, a blinding light filling the cell. Kral screamed as the energy consumed him, his body disintegrating into nothingness. The light faded, and Lyra stood alone, the crystal now a part of her. She could feel its power coursing through her veins, a constant reminder of the responsibility she now bore. As she stepped out of the cell, she knew her journey was far from over. Kral may have been defeated, but there were still others like him, others who would seek to exploit the crystal's power. But Lyra was ready. She had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, and she would do whatever it took to protect her people and her planet. With a determined smile, Lyra set off into the night, the stars above guiding her way. She was no longer just a girl. She was a warrior, a protector, and a beacon of hope for all of Zorath. And as she disappeared into the horizon, the crystal's light shone brighter than ever, a symbol of the new dawn that was coming.